Hey, it's Dr. Schmidt. So it's been a couple weeks since I've done a series of videos. This week I did one yesterday and the day before, but before that it's been 2 weeks. And I've been working really hard to get off of being reliant on YouTube. I'll still be on YouTube. I'm going to stay on YouTube. It's been a good thing for me. And Twitter's been fun. Not really. But so I'm making this free ebook and a free introductory course that people can take, and it's going to be the nuts and bolts of getting well and improving your mitochondria and getting out of lactic acidosis and feeding your organs. And it's taken 5 or 6 months to do this. It's the document is thick with information. The free ebook is 56 pages, I think, or 57 pages. And I'm very proud of it. And so Google just changed their algorithm again last week, Monday, so 9 days ago, which means that I spent this past weekend doing another 5 or 6 hours of updating the document in order to be Google searchable and Google friendly. And what that means is I had to put in a bunch of links to the resources from which I get my data. So a lot of my data comes from old books from the 30s and 40s and 50s. But I was able to find some really good research that's modern. And it doesn't tell the whole story like they did back in the 30s, but I was able to piece it together in the document. And then you can read and see the links that support some of the statements. And then as a whole, it makes sense. So that was well worth it. And so I didn't expect that I'd have to do that, because you used to be able to backlink your articles, and that would help the Google searches. And so people would make an article and it would backlink to their blog, and it always backlink to their own articles. So Google had to stop that. But now they're saying you want to backlink, but it has to be to authoritative people, trustworthy people, and scientific research, so PubMed. And I have plenty of that in this document. So there was that delay, and it should be out in the next few weeks. I don't know. It's hard to predict. Who knows what'll happen? But once it's out, you're going to hear about it from me on this channel. So, yeah, okay. So I'm reading the comments here. So Rob Bacon says, Mr. Schmidt goes to Washington. Yeah. In July of 2019, I went to Washington, D.C., and I spoke at the USDA Dietary Guidelines Committee. Every 5 years, they have to change the food pyramid, and they look at their job by law is to look at the preponderance of science that is stated in the law. And what do? They look at the preponderance of survey. And I'm going to read you the 3-minute speech that I have to say in 2 days on Friday. Today's Wednesday, so Friday. I'm flying down to Houston tomorrow morning. I have 2 patients in the morning, then I drive to the airport. And I'll attend as much as the other meetings as I can. They have various other meetings from subcommittees, and I want to hear what they have to say. And then Friday afternoon, beginning at 1 o'clock, they have 3-minute speeches, and they'll probably have about 80 people speaking. Everybody gets 3 minutes. Now, when I did it in July, there were a lot of corporate people, such as the people that sell you bottled water, and the people who serve foods at the lunch cafeteria at the school. And then there were some vegans who were promoting no meat, low fat. There's probably about a dozen, or probably more than that. And then there was a few low carbers, like probably a dozen of them. And so when I spoke, what happened was a bunch of people made videos about me and had unfriendly things to say because I was promoting low carb. And I'm going to do the same thing this time. So I'm going to give you my speech. All right. It's 3 minutes. You can start timing me. No, I'm actually going to stop. I might add in a sentence or two. But okay, here we go. All right. So my name is Dr. Darren Schmidt. I spoke to you in July in DC. I have focused on nutrition in my practice for 23 years at the Nutritional Healing Center of Ann Arbor. My clinicians and I have seen 60,000 nutrition visits in the last 5 years. I want to tell you about my patient, Yael Rosner, a former Miss Israel, who had been struggling with her health. She says, I must admit that I was sure I was eating healthy since I was following the U.S. food pyramid. I became pre-diabetic, got neuropathy in my feet, hypertension, overweight, and bloating. My kids and my husband also gained weight and had other symptoms. When you had me switch to a low carb diet, I started to sleep better and longer. My feet stopped hurting. My blood pressure dropped 20 points and my blood glucose dropped 40. I'm losing pounds and people are complimenting me and I'm happier. So I'm not surprised at this success story. I've had thousands of successes like this during my career using the low carb diet. Jeremy Martin had spondylitis for 10 years. Painkillers ruined his gut. He took Cipro, which destroyed his tendons and nervous system. Years of eating high carb foods was his cause. And now with a low carb diet, he's off all medications, pain-free, down 60 pounds, and he's smiling again. My patient Serpa Oram was on medications for her lifelong hypothyroidism, chronic cough medication for 10 years, and seizure medication for 27. Her ketogenic diet for the last year and a half is the foundation of her improvements. She is now down 40 pounds and symptom-free and medication-free. All of these patients switched their diet to the opposite of the current dietary guidelines. Why is there such a discrepancy between the guidelines and these great results? Let me explain it like this. Remember the 6 steps of the scientific method that we all learned in grade school? Step 1, make an observation. Step 2, form a hypothesis. Step 3, test that hypothesis with an experiment. Step 4, analyze the data. Step 5 is report the data. And the last step is let other people replicate it. Let other scientists replicate it. Epidemiology is only the first 2 steps out of 6. It is missing the experiment. Therefore, it is an incomplete process. It is mostly survey. This includes the Blue Zones, Loma Lindas, Seventh-day Adventists, Epic Data, Okinawans, Eskimo, NHANES, the China study. Yes, even NHANES is not science. It's only survey. It is your charge by the law that you have to use the preponderance of science. It takes all 6 steps of the scientific method to qualify as science, not just the first 2 steps like in an epidemiological survey. The majority of your studies you are using are incomplete science. This is why people get great results by doing the opposite of the guidelines. We need diversity in our guidelines. There is no one diet for all. The low-carb diet has to be an option in your report, just like the American Diabetes Association did. There are 100 clinical trials that prove the low-carb diet is safe and effective. Please add at least one line in your report that says a low-carb diet of 25% or less of calories from carbohydrates is a safe and viable option, because it is. Thank you. All right, there's my 3 minutes that I'm going to say on Friday. And so I started writing that speech in July of 2019, the day after when I flew home and I spoke at the USDA, and I heard what other people were saying. So the vegans were saying, look at the Okinawans, look at the Loma Lindas, the vegans there, look at the Seventh-day Adventists. And they're using epidemiological surveys. And I'm thinking to myself, that's not science, because it's only the first 2 steps out of 6. The scientific method that you learned in 6th grade or 5th grade, we all learned it. Maybe we forgot it, but you can Google it. And when you click on images, Google images, the scientific method images are cartoons for 5th graders. Like, it's so basic and fundamental. And there's different variations of the scientific method, but it always comes down to, some of them are 9 steps, some of them are 5 steps, but they're in the middle or towards the beginning, there's always an experiment to test your hypothesis. So the epidemiological surveys create a hypothesis. And then 90% of nutrition research is just a hypothesis. And once you test it, the low-fat diet is not good. And the low-carb diet always wins. So there's the Public Health Collaboration of the UK, and they show 32-0, low-carb beats low-fat. And then there's the USDA 2015 Dietary Guidelines Report, and it's 77-0, low-carb beats low-fat in clinical trials, in experiments. So it's not just about numbers or quantities of studies, it's about the quality of the studies. And when you look at the quality studies, low-carb always wins. Okay, so I wanted to share that with you, and let me read some of these comments. Can we get another video? Yeah, can you make another video about the floppy heart muscle again and speak about vitamin B4? Yeah, the heart sound recorder is a machine that we have here. And I'm going to do another video about it, and it's on my own results. When I first got that machine, I ran it on myself over a year ago, or maybe it was about a year ago. Like I think it was February of 2019. And I didn't know what I was looking at when I looked at the results on the paper. And I just found that paper last week, and it looks horrible. So I redid it, and now it looks so much better. And I need to do it. I redid it last week, and I'll do it again next week, because I really started to focus more on the heart. But I'm telling you, I got people with Lyme disease, cancer, heart disease, and their heart looks better than mine did a year ago from all that black mold. Like when you see the graph, it's crazy how erratic and fibrillating and fluttering my heart was back then. Oh man, it's kind of crazy. Okay. Thank you so much about the Mito ATP. The Mito ATP video from Monday, I had fun making it. I made it a week prior to releasing it. And the reason why I didn't release it immediately is because we didn't really have it in the office. It's such a popular product. The supplier has a hard time manufacturing enough. And I know the people that work there. I've been to their place. I've been to their shipping department. I met the guy in charge. I know the owners. I've known them for 10 years. And they're all very effective people, and they can work well. And they're very sane. They're very intelligent. And so their products are not on back order because they can't get organized. That's not the issue. The issue is the products are so good, the demand is so high. And so everybody wants to buy it. Now we're getting a shipment of Mito ATP in on Monday of 24 bottles. We already have 23 people on the waiting list. So all but one of those bottles are going to be out the door as soon as they come in the door. So we ordered another 48, and then we ordered another 28. So Mito ATP has been a fantastic supplement. Okay, all right. Thanks for all that. I'm going to share with you a success story, and I tweeted about this, and what came after that makes it even a better story. So last week I talked to a patient, and she's been on parasite supplements, and she's been eliminating parasites every day for a couple of years. And I have a number of people doing that. And some people are just so filled with parasites. You got to kill that mother worm. It's that one worm that lays 30,000 eggs a day. And I'm not kidding. I know this sounds like some alien stuff, but you can look it up in microbiology. I got it right over here. I got this bookshelf. It used to be behind me, but here it is. I got a microbiology textbook. And yeah, some of these tapeworms, roundworms, they'll lay 20, 30,000 eggs a day. You got to get that one out. If you don't get it out, they keep laying the eggs. You keep getting more new parasites. Anyway, so she's been eliminating parasites into the toilet for 2 years. And I had her on some really good supplements. And then what changed was she went full carnivore, beef, water, salt, and that's it. And it was a tremendous benefit to her. And then she eliminated the mother worm, a foot long, as round as a nickel. And all the movement, she was constantly feeling this movement in her gut and up and down her legs. And that reduced by like 70% once that one came out. These parasites go wherever they want to go. And so fantastic, right? Awesome. And so I tweeted it out, and somebody responded. I got a lot of great responses, but somebody responded that, so is she from Africa or Mexico? And somebody else said, obviously, because in the medical world, they only think that parasites are in Africa and Mexico. And they think that nobody in the United States has parasites. It's insane to think that. And I said, she's from Minnesota. And the response, I can't remember the response back was, but I said, 99% of I've had maybe 1,000 people or more. I don't know. I never really counted. Since 2001, thousands of people since 2001 eliminate parasites. 99% of them are from the Great Lakes area. And his response was, well, I looked it up and only tapeworms are found in Minnesota. And I'm like, well, look, it doesn't matter. First of all, that's not true. And secondly, I don't care what any book says. And thirdly, all I do is I give herbs, and whatever comes out, comes out. And if you want to identify them, or you want to argue whether that parasite comes from Africa or from wherever, you can be as academic as you want. Thank God I'm a clinician. I don't have to worry about all that stuff. I just get people well. And it comes down to supplements and diet. So that was just a really interesting story I wanted to share with you. And in medicine, and with that one tweet, I got like over 100 followers. And medicine completely ignores not only like the ketogenic diet, low carb diet, which is super important, but they ignore parasites, and they ignore Lyme. They ignore heavy metals and chemicals. These are the monsters that cause chronic disease. These are the worst things that are tearing our bodies down. And they're chronic, right? It's long-term. Detoxing metals could be 5 years. And in medicine, they're looking for that one silver bullet that's going to save your life. And then they send you home and they pat themselves on the back and they give each other awards, and then they have a big insurance payment. No, this is when you do chronic illness in this day and age, you're in the trenches. You got to figure this stuff out, and you got to, monitor and adapt and change as things evolve inside the body. So there's my story I wanted to share with you. Worse than a litter of kittens. Yeah. The parasites. Okay. I'm reading the comments. Yeah. Turpentine. I've never worked with turpentine to kill organisms, but potentially you can look this up online. Maybe use turpentine for fungus too. But you could use tequila. There was a guy in the Amazon rainforest. He was a white guy that knew he had a long tapeworm in his body. I don't know how he knew it, but I read this in a magazine. And basically what he did is he drank hard alcohol straight out of the bottle as much as he could, and then he would pass out. And he'd come to, do it again, pass out, come to, do it again. He did it for a week, no food, just alcohol. And he got out a 20-foot tapeworm. So that's the kind of stuff that happens. The biggest I've ever had anybody eliminate a worm was 3 foot long. And there were multiple, like 5 of them all tangled in together, 3 feet long of tapeworms. Okay, so I'm going to end off here. And I got to go work out, pack my bags. Tomorrow morning, see 2 patients, jump on a plane. I'm going to rehearse my 3-minute speech. And I appreciate you listening. And I'll do a video about the USDA experience. And then I'll put in my 3 minutes, and I'll make some comments on other people's 3 minutes. All right, cool. So if you need some help from us, you can contact the office. I'll put the information below. And oh, by the way, you see my videos. If you saw my video yesterday, I talked about anybody can order standard process from me, whether you're a patient or not. I'm one of 10 people in the United States right now that can do that. So, all right, take care. Bye.